What a group. What a group. Beautiful. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. I hope you're clapping for Alan, not me, right?
We know better.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trump, for being here. It is great to have you in Aiken, South Carolina, and you can tell the enthusiasm in the crowd is palpable, and people are so excited about you and your candidacy, and they're really excited to hear what your plans are for our country. So I'll go ahead and take a couple minutes just to kick it off, and then we'll jump into the questions.
Okay, very good.
Yes, sir.
I just want to thank everybody in South Carolina. We've done so. I love you too. We've done, I've been here so much over the last really 2-year period, but before that also, and it's a special place, special people. But Alan, no matter where I go all over the country, it's people that are incredible people that want to see us make America great again. That's what we're all doing, and that's what I'm doing, and that's what we're all doing. And so important, and I'm self-funding my own campaign. I'm not asking for millions of dollars from all these guys. Every one of these guys, they're putting in millions and millions of dollars, and you know what that means. That means that whoever gives the money has plenty of control over the people, and I'm not doing that. So we're going to do a real job. The poll numbers have been phenomenal. You've seen them all over the country. They've been phenomenal. And by the way, in South Carolina, they've been beyond phenomenal. They've really been good. So I just want to thank you. We're all friends, and we're all looking for the same thing. We're looking to work hard and do a great job, and we just want to do something fantastic for our country. We have a lot of problems. We have a lot of leaders, and one in particular that's doing a horrible, horrible job. A horrible job. So, good.
I think they want the volume turned up.
You need volume? Volume? Yeah. Turn up the volume, sure. How's your speaker system? Is it good? Is the volume good? Turn up the volume.
Turn up the volume.
Up.
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 Can y'all hear in the back? No, they can't hear. They're waving.
Can you hear now?
Yeah, okay.
Isn't that better? See, now the difference between me and a politician other than Alan is that I wouldn't pay the first contractor. I said, you did a lousy job, we're not going to pay you, right? Whereas a politician will pay them 100 cents on the dollar, even though their system was no good. All right, this sounds better. Is that good up there? Can you hear us? All right. I think we should start all over again then, right? I said before that the people of South Carolina have been amazing. The people of the country have been amazing. They used to use the word silent majority, and then for some reason that word went out of vogue a little bit. But I don't even need that, because the words that we really use now, Alan, you've been hearing it, is sort of the noisy majority. People are so enthused, and they're so energetic, and it's been so incredible. No matter, I went to Mobile, Alabama, 35,000 people. Oklahoma, 20,000. Dallas, Texas, the Mavericks Arena packed, 20,000 people. No matter where we go, it's incredible. And the level of enthusiasm for our country, it's not even me, it's for the country, is so incredible. So thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Mr. Trump, we were in the back just talking a few moments ago, and what was striking to me is he said that he's not looking for endorsements from politicians and famous folks. So he's really looking for your endorsement. But I just read recently that Franklin Graham, the son of Billy Graham, said some extremely complimentary things, and it's amazing the diversity of people who are talking about you around the country.
Well, we have so many people that have, and I'm not looking for the endorsements. Endorsements, when you get somebody like Franklin Graham, who I have such respect for Franklin and for his family, and for Billy Graham. Billy Graham is, I'd go to the Crusades. It was incredible. It was just incredible.
Yeah, I did too.
But Franklin Graham said such incredible things yesterday, and I just appreciated that. But we get a lot of endorsements. I don't ask for endorsements. I would say somebody like Franklin and others mean a lot, but honestly, generally speaking, I think endorsements don't mean that much. It's what you say. It's your track record. I've built a great, great company. It's been amazing. If you remember when I did the filings, they were so disappointed. They said, wow, this is an unbelievable company. Everybody was going, very little debt, tremendous income, the best assets, some of the greatest assets in the world. And everybody was extremely disappointed because they thought, oh, gee. But the fact, and the reason I tell you that, and it's so important, is that we need that thinking in terms of running our country. We have $19 trillion in debt. And it's a mindset. You know, it's just a mindset. These people don't know what they're doing. And now they did this horrible budget that was just approved a week ago. It took them, 2 hours to approve a budget of the biggest budget ever. And we're going to need another $2 trillion. So the 19, which is really 19, not 18. It was 18 a short while ago. Now it's 19. It's going to go up to 21. And it's just out of control. The country's out of control. If you look at everything we do, and we're going to get to some pretty interesting questions and pretty detailed questions on Constitution and other things, but you look at everything we do. We make an Iran deal. We give these terrorists, I mean, it's a terror nation. We give them $150 billion. They're allowed to self-inspect. Can you imagine they're self-inspecting? They're going to self-inspect. They're going to tell us whether or not they're doing nuclear. You know, please tell us, Ayatollah, are you doing nuclear? No, we've just inspected the site. No, we're not. We are just, it's crazy what's going on. And then we have the 24-day clause where we take 24 days before we can look. But what a lot of people don't know, before that clause kicks in, it could take it could take forever just to have it start, the clock. And then on top of everything else, we don't even get our prisoners back. We get nothing. So you look at that stuff. We give them, think of it, we give them $150 billion. $150 billion, and we don't get our prisoners back. And now they'll start, I know exactly what's going to happen. They're now going to start a brand new negotiation to give us our prisoners back. And they've already said, we're not giving 4, we're giving 3. We're 4. And it should have been at the beginning, Alan. It should have been at the beginning. 3 years ago, this is the longest negotiation I've ever seen. 3 years ago, they should have said, listen, before we start, we want the prisoners back. Got to let them go. Okay? Got to let them go. This shouldn't be now. And I mean, it's the art of the deal, but it's so simple. It's not even the art of the deal. It's common sense. It's 101. But we would have said 3 years ago, whenever it started, probably started longer than that. I've never seen anything like it. But 3 years ago, they should have said, we want them back. It's good for you, good for us. You don't want them. We need them. Our people need them. It's going to be easier to make a deal. It's going to be a lot nicer for the deal. And they would have said no. And we leave. Say bye-bye. And then we double up the sanctions, right? We double up the sanctions. And I guarantee you within 48 hours, they're calling back saying, okay, you're going to get the prisoners back. I said, good. Then the next thing I would have said on that deal, we're not giving you any cash. We're not going to give you cash. And they would have said, we want the money. I don't think I've ever said this one before, but it's true. With all that, I wouldn't have given the cash back. They said, we want the money. No, you can't have the money. We'll make a deal, but you can't have the money. Too much, can't have it. We don't have it. We owe $19 trillion. We don't have it. So we're not getting the cash back. They'll get angry. We'll walk up, double the sanctions. They'll say, fine. And then we'll start a negotiation. But the worst thing about it, it's all right, go ahead, clap. You know, it's funny. I haven't said this, but recently I got a great review on speaking ability. They said he's a great, but they said he's got one problem. His speaking is wonderful and the crowds love him, but got one problem. He speaks through his applause. He says something, everyone goes crazy, and he starts speaking before the applause. And that's because I'm so excited. There's so many things we have to do. I don't have time for the applause. It's true. No, I was thinking about it. And I noticed I was doing it the other day. I was getting these big, beautiful applause, and I'm speaking, and you kill the applause. But I have so many ideas. I'm so excited about what we're doing. I mean, we can actually, and I've just been starting to say it recently, because I've met the people. I've gotten to know so many, we have such incredible people. I really believe we can actually make our country not only great again, but greater than ever before. We have a chance at making it greater than ever before. I really believe that. And I've just started saying it. The people are amazing. All right, enough of that.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the questions. Now, y'all don't applaud so much, I got to read the question, all right? First thing I want to say is the role of the president is so important, Mr. Trump. The reason I believe it is, as an attorney general, we're constantly fighting the federal government, and a lot of the things, we do a lot of our fighting in the court system. The president appoints lifetime appointments to the U.S. Supreme Court and the appellate courts, and the district courts. And the problem we have is that a lot of times when the president's gone, the appointments that he leaves behind on the bench are there for a generation or more to come. There are 4 members of the Supreme Court who were born in the 1930s, which means the next president could appoint nearly half of the Supreme Court depending on how long they serve. My question to you, Mr. Trump, is what types of people are you looking for to serve on the Supreme Courts, and what would you want to know about them before you put them in a lifetime appointment?
All right, well, I'd want conservative people. You know, there is a chance that the next president's going to get 4 people. I mean, that's a tremendous, that's sort of the luck of the draw maybe, but there is a good chance. That would have, it's, in many respects, they're among the most important decisions you can make, and especially when you get 4, you can tip the balance back to where it should be, because the balance now has gotten not so good. And it would be very interesting to see. Number one, I'd want conservative people. I'd want strongly conservative people, but I'd want great scholars. I would really want really smart, we're talking about the Supreme Court. And I would want really great legal scholars. I want people that follow and admire and respect our Constitution because, right? I mean, we have decisions coming down, Alan, where it's like we don't even have a Constitution. It's so many decisions are made, and they're so badly made. So a Constitution is very important. But we want top of the level up here. We want smart, we want conservative, and we want people that are truly in love with the Constitution.
The next area I'd like to talk about, I guess I got to let him applause first. Executive actions have been a sore point for many attorneys general around the country, Mr. Trump. This president doesn't like to go through Congress. Y'all have all heard of the phone and the pen, right? He's got a phone and a pen. Well, that's not in our Constitution. You have to go through Congress, and the executive branch enforces the rule of law. Oftentimes, this administration has gone around the legislative process, namely Yucca Mountain. All of you for 30 years have been paying into a nuclear waste fund to fund the exploration of Yucca Mountain to be our national nuclear waste repository. Unilaterally, the administration shuttered that after billions of dollars were spent, money that you spent in your utility bills, and said, you keep your nuclear waste states, we'll keep the money. Also, the immigration overreach that the president had last year, just 2 examples. Which executive actions of this president do you disagree with the most, and how would you approach the use of the executive order in your administration?
It's such a great question. Executive action, most people never even heard of executive. Did anyone even heard? Usually you had to get Congress, you had to talk the senators into it, you had to talk your congressmen into it, you had to deal with all the people. You have your 3 branches, and you talk them, and you get something passed, and there's compromise, and sometimes we don't like the compromise, but there'll be compromise. But that's the way the system is supposed to work. And then all of a sudden, I started hearing, oh, well, he tried, he can't do it. And boom, and another one, boom. And you have these executive actions. I don't even think he tries anymore. I think he just signs executive actions. The one good thing about an executive action is that the new president can go in. You don't have to go through Congress. You can just, and he's a great lawyer, you can just go and sign, and it's over, right? It's true. It's an executive action can be, defunded, whatever you want to call it. It can be unsigned so quickly by the new president. So what you do is you go in, and I think probably within the first hour, it could be within about 2 minutes after I take an oath, assuming I'm lucky enough and we get the support and we get out and vote. We have to get out and vote. But I would be getting rid of a lot of them very quickly in the first hour. One of them would be immigration. He signed an executive order where people can just pour in. Now, Alan and a lot of people got very involved with that, and actually, shockingly, not doing badly in court. Isn't that amazing?
We're winning.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
So far.
But I'll make it easier on Alan. You won't have to waste your time in court because that will be out. That'll be gone. They're appealing it. They'll be appealing it. But you've had some very good luck in court. I would get rid of that. Right now, I was at Laredo, Texas, and the Border Patrol, they're great people. They really want to do the job. They want to do the job. They're told to stand there, just don't do anything. These are unbelievable people. They called me. I didn't call them. They wanted to have a meeting, and they want to do the job, and they're told, just let them come through, let them come through. And you see the scenes, you see the pictures. if we don't have a border, remember this, we don't have a country. You don't have a country. And people are coming through by the thousands and the tens of thousands and the hundreds of thousands. We can't let it happen, and we will build a wall, and it's going to be a real wall, believe me. It's going to be a real wall. It's going to be a real wall. And see the way I let you get through that whole thing? I'm learning. But it's going to be a real wall, and walls, look, I always say, we're going to have a door, and the door's going to be a big, beautiful door, and people can come into our country. But they have to come in legally. They have to come in legally. They have to go through a process, and they have to come in legally. And if they don't come in legally, we don't want Kate, and we don't want Jamil, and we don't want all of the tremendous crime that's taken place, which turned out to be, you know, Alan and I were talking, when I first announced, I talked about illegal immigration. I never took heat like that in my life, including this week. It was not as strong, nearly as strong. And then within 4 weeks, all of a sudden, I was like the mainstay. Everybody was coming to me. They found out I was right about illegal immigration. And I really thought it was, I actually said, how much longer can I go like this? And then I doubled down. And Rush Limbaugh was a good guy, said, I've never seen anybody take heat like him, right? Rush was out and he was going wild. He said he's taken more incoming than any human being I've ever seen. And then he doubled down because I actually had a news conference and announced that I'm right 100%, and it's even worse than I told you. And that was really wild. But within 4 weeks, it was all, and now it's a big topic of conversation. And I think if I weren't in the race, I don't even think they'd be talking about illegal immigration. And somehow the reason the polls went way up is because when I mentioned the situation that we have, because we have a very serious situation with radical Islamic terrorism. We have a very, very, and politicians don't want to talk about it. I mean, they just don't want to even mention it. They don't want to. We have a president who refuses to use the term, and he doesn't want to use the term. So I've used the term big league, and I talked about what we have to do. We have to get our arms around this, or we don't want people coming in and knocking down World Trade Centers and having what happened last week in California with these two people, that radical, crazy, horrible people. And we don't want what happened in Paris and what happens here. We don't want it. And we have to get our country under control. And all of a sudden, I see the same thing. It was pretty brutal 4 days ago for Trump. Do you agree? Look at her. She's saying yes. It was, and now all of a sudden, everyone's coming in saying, you know, he's right. I'm even seeing liberal hosts and people. They're saying, you know, he's got a point. Now they're seeing that the so-called wife who came in on a fiancé visa. Okay, give me a break, fiancé. She came in on a fiancé. Well, she came in and she told lots of lies and everything else, and she should have never been allowed to come into the country. But now a lot of people that were very strong against me a few days ago are saying, well, you know, there is a point, there is a point. So I think a lot of good things are going to happen. But we have to be tough. We can't be so politically correct. And that's the way it is. Thank you. Thank you.
So Mr. Trump, the next area I want to talk about, we talked about the role of the courts, and the president's going to make appointments or nominations to the court that will be there for a lifetime. I want to talk about federal government agencies that meddle in our lives day to day. In the last 5 years, I've joined with many states fighting the EPA, the NLRB, the Department of Justice, just to name a few. One of the things I try to tell these folks is if you look to the Constitution's like a handbook. When you buy a VCR or something, it comes with a handbook. It says this is how you operate this piece of equipment. Article 1 says President or Congress, you have these duties. Article 2 says President, you have these duties and authorities. And Article 3 says courts, this is your powers. And the 10th Amendment says anything not listed in the handbook goes to who? The states, us, you. Many people who sit on the board said the EPA, the NLRB, the DOJ, and many others don't understand that. What kind of appointees would you place in those agencies, and what would you like to know about them before you put them on there?
Well, first of all, I agree with that 100%. You take an example, Common Core is a disaster. I've seen it, and it's a disaster, right? Just to use that as an example. Where you have in Washington, you have bureaucrats who are making a tremendous amount of money, and they're telling children and parents of children in South Carolina and in Iowa and in all of the different places I'm going to, New Hampshire, Massachusetts has been so incredible too. Massachusetts, we had 48%, can you believe it? A 48% rating in Massachusetts with 15 people. That's, I think, because Tom Brady likes me. I have to say that, Tom Brady's a great guy. But I think that helped, right? Wouldn't you think that probably helped? But Common Core is such a total disaster. And to see that somebody like Jeb Bush is in favor of Common Core is I think it's just, I don't know how you would win. I see parents, and I see so many school systems now going, because I'm going all over the place. And I see parents that are really smart with such love for their children and the other children, and they meet around a circle and they have their principal and they really get it. And that's where education should be, not based on some bureaucrat that makes a lot of money in Washington that knows nothing about South Carolina, knows nothing. And that's really, Alan, in my opinion, where it should be. To me, that's almost the best example. But there's so many other examples. And wherever the state can do it, I'm all for it, because it's more localized. The people care more about their particular area. And that's all right. They're friendly. They're friendly. But so wherever the state can do it, I'm all for that. Were they representing anybody or just wanted to make a little noise?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to move now to the EPA. Anyone ever heard of the EPA? All right.
You don't want to hear too much about it.
Some of my friends who are attorneys general refer to it the Eliminate Prosperity Agency, but I want to talk about it real quick because they've got a lot of controversial rulings coming down, one dealing with clean power and the other one dealing with waters of the U.S. For those of you who don't understand or haven't heard of it, you definitely understand it. Waters of the U.S. is a redefining of what constitutes a waterway that the federal government can regulate. Now, when I think of waterway, you think Mississippi River, right? Multiple states, it's navigable. Well, they have tried to redefine the waters of the U.S. to include low-lying ephemeral ditches. Think of a ditch on the side of a road that's filled with water just for a couple of weeks out of the year, maybe a waterway on a golf course. Or someone who has a small business and you have a low-lying area that's adjacent to a river, that could be regulated by the federal government. In order for you to build on it or use your property, you would have to go to the federal government to ask permission. I call it lands of the U.S. because it's a land grab. The EPA and other agencies have also played favorites in favoring wind and solar over other more affordable sources of energy such as nuclear and coal. How would you balance the need to protect a livable environment with the reality of the cost of regulations?
Okay, one of the things that's very interesting with EPA, I was reading the other day and a friend of mine said it's unbelievable, has a farm and he has puddles. It rains, you have puddles. And they consider that a waterway or they consider that water, regulated water. And the guy is being driven crazy. A friend of mine, he's being driven crazy with the regulations. We've got to get rid of the regulations. Now, we want to have clean air, we want to have clean water. We do want to have that. We want to have clean air, clean water. And beyond that, we have to be very careful because we're becoming non-competitive with other nations. Now, in the old days, we sort of had a certain strength. We've lost so much of that strength with manipulation of other currencies, with all of the EPA regulations and many other regulations. I'll give you one regulation. So I build a lot of stuff. And I go into areas where they have tremendous water. I won't use names, but tremendous water. There's never been such a thing as like they're short. They have too much water, all right? And you have sinks where the water doesn't come out, right? We all know. You go buy a new sink and you turn on and it's like, well, I want to wash my hands. You have showers where I can't wash my hair properly. It's a disaster. No, it's true.
Me too.
It's true. I have showers. I just put them in a big job, and I'm saying, oh, how do I get? And the water doesn't come. I call the head of it. Kohler is a great guy. Herb Kohler is a great guy. I call him, Herb, these shower heads are terrible. Well, they're restrictors. They have restrictors put in. Now, there's no water problem. You know, it's one thing maybe in the desert. The problem is you stay under the shower for 5 times as long. You end up wasting more water than you would have the other way. I won't use the example of toilets because it's sort of gross, right? But let's use it anyway. So no water comes out. So people are flushing it 7, 8, 10, 12 times. The end result is it's no good and they end up wasting more water. Those are the regulations that we have. Those are just, I could name hundreds of them like that in the construction because that's what I do. I mean, so many bad regulations. But I'm telling you, you go get yourself a new sink, get yourself a new faucet, and you turn on that water and the water drips out so terribly, it's really bad. So they've over-regulated and they've really created problems. So many other problems like that.
Now, we're going to turn to Obamacare. I've been involved in 2 lawsuits to try to overturn Obamacare in the court system. Those were suits that were lost by the states in a 5-4 decision, which goes back to my previous question about the importance of electing good judges. If you're elected president, and by the looks of this crowd, looks like you got a good shot.
You'll be very happy.
We'll
get it going properly. That I promise. I promise.
Would you work to repeal Obamacare? And if you were successful,
yes.
What would you replace it with?
Yes. It's funny. It's almost, you know, over the last number of months, I've made a lot of speeches and said a lot of different things. And the wall gets tremendous. You know, we will build the wall, and that gets tremendous. And one of the others, I mean, a number of, frankly, a lot of them do. But one of the ones that gets so much is the repeal of Obamacare and replacing it with something so much better. So we will repeal Obamacare. Remember the $5 billion website, okay? $5 billion. That's the way our country's run. That didn't work on top of everything else, and it still doesn't work. So I don't know if you've been reading the papers lately, but the honest papers, and even some of the less than honest papers, because the press is not an honest group of people. You know, well, look at all those cameras back there. When I go home today, Alan, when I go home today, my wife will ask me if there were many people at the event. Because it's on live television. It's all over the place. And my wife will, and these people actually have the best seat because they're going to become famous. They may not look like they have the best seat, but if they want to be famous, they have the best seat, okay? Because you got to... Who has better hair in the back, Alan or Trump?
That's not a fair question.
So...
I got no chance.
So, Obamacare has become such a big thing. And if you look at the papers, it's failing badly. Now, they don't want to build it up, but it's failing badly. And by 17, just my luck, because if whoever wins is going to have a big problem. And hopefully it's going to be me because I know how to fix problems. And I'm going to have it repealed before that anyway. But by 17, it implodes because the wrong people are signing up, not enough people are signing up. It's a disaster. And the people in here, you know what I'm talking about. Your rates are going up 25, 35, 45%. Your deductibles are through the roof. You practically have to be dead in order to collect a deductible, right? Right? Stand up. Stand up. Are you right? Stand up, ma'am. Right? Okay. Everybody wants to stand up because they're all saying yes. The rates have gone up. The deductibles have gone. I don't mean gone up 2%. I mean gone up. Rates have gone up 35, 45, sometimes over 50%. And on top of it, it's no good. And what we're going to do is we're going to come in with a fantastic system of private. We're going to get rid of the insurance companies. By the way, the insurance companies have done really well. They have made such a fortune. And guess what? They contributed big league to Obama. Okay, give me a break. We're going to get rid of the artificial lines. Okay, this is a case where we're going to open up the borders. Okay, we're going to take those lines. You know, if I go out to bid, I have a lot of employees in a lot of different states. But if I go out to bid on something in a state, let's say I'm in New York, and I want, let's say, South Carolina, a company to bid, it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. Because they all have their little monopolies. And in South Carolina, they have their monopoly. And everybody... Now, here's the nice part. All of these companies have given a lot of money to every candidate. And if that candidate wins, they're going to keep their lines, they're going to keep their monopolies, and the rates are going to, it's going to be no good. Because Obamacare is going down with or without Justice Roberts. Obamacare is going down. You understand what I mean by that. And I will tell you this, Justice Roberts really let us down. He really let us down. What he did with Obamacare was disgraceful. And I think he did that because he wanted to be popular with inside the Beltway or something. Because he did it the first time, should have never done it. And that would have killed it. It would have been so badly wounded the second time that it would have died even faster than it's already dying. But Justice Roberts should never, there was no legal reason. He's a great legal scholar. He knows it better than any of us. There was no legal reason why he should have not ended Obamacare the first time or the second time, but in particular the first time. But the second time was even clearer. So when we talk about Supreme Court and we talk about Supreme Court judges, he is so disappointing to me. But, with that being said, I hope I don't have a case before the United States Supreme Court anytime soon, but that's the way I feel. I don't care. We have to get rid of the lines so that we have many companies bidding. We have many companies. You'll end up with plans. There are things in Obamacare you just don't need. You don't want it. You don't need it. It's so crazy. Things you don't want that in theory it's all being paid for. You will end up with so many options, so many plans, and the insurance companies are going to have to be sharper and smarter, and they're not going to have the monopoly like they have. But you get rid of those lines and you watch what happens. Your numbers will come down, your plans will be fantastic, and it'll be a beautiful thing. And a lot of people say, well, why didn't they do it the last time? They didn't do it the last time because the insurance companies had all your politicians taken care of. Me, they can't take care of me. They can't take care of me. They can't do it. That's the only reason. Everybody knows that's the answer, but it never happens. And even I was surprised last time because they were sort of close to doing something, and then I feel sorry for Alan. I don't think this ever happened to Alan before.
Everybody loves me.
Look, that's the beauty of our country that you can do that. Honestly, in a way, that's the beauty of our country. And you know what? I'll be honest. For the last 7 years, we should have been doing more of that because we should have been doing that. We should have. We're too nice. We're too nice, but things are happening that are very exciting.
Now, you were talking about Supreme Court a minute ago. Do you have a favorite Supreme Court justice?
Well, it's very interesting. I told you about Justice Roberts, how we're so disappointed in him. But Alito's terrific. But I'll tell you something. We have 3 or 4 very good. But I'll tell you a man that I think is highly underrated. He's been so consistent for so long, and we should give him credit. Clarence Thomas, right? We should give him, Scalia's terrific, but Clarence Thomas has been so consistent, and it's very interesting. I was at a thing similar to this recently with a lot of great legal scholars, and it was a room of about 800 people, mostly lawyers, and I just said Clarence Thomas, and I got a standing ovation. I was shocked, and he has been very, very strong and consistent, and I really respect that.
I'm a fan too. Okay. I want to talk briefly about Dodd-Frank. Don't worry, this isn't boring. I just want to say that Dodd-Frank is to the financial industry what Obamacare is to the healthcare industry, an attempt to centralize power in the hands of a few unelected bureaucrats who seek to rule through administrative fiat. Attorneys General have combated Dodd-Frank over the last several years because we believe that it's unconstitutional, at least in how it's implemented, and some of the tenets of it are certainly unconstitutional. It's making it increasingly more difficult for real Americans working paycheck to paycheck to get their hands on capital. As president, what would you do, or would you scale back Dodd-Frank? And what would you do to help with these lines of credit to many who are suffering on Main Street?
Okay, it's such a great question. The Dodd-Frank thing is a disaster. It's got to be repealed. I mean, it's got to be repealed. It's got to be repealed. Now, and look, I know so much about the banking industry, and over the years I borrowed billions and billions of dollars, and you know, I just get it. I understand the industry, and right now the industry is run by regulators. And if somebody like me wants money, I can have all the money I want. I pay almost no interest. It's crazy. But I don't need money. I had the head of the biggest bank call me the other day. Hello, you want to borrow some money? It's a little sad, you know, because he almost doesn't know where he is. It's like, no, it's sad. I don't know if he knows where he is. You know, I always say, and then tomorrow you'll read in the newspapers, here we have thousands of people. It's an amazing thing. Again, I wish the press would fan, and I wish the cameras would fan, because they never do that. You know, they'll keep the camera on my face and Alan's face, and they never show the kind of crowds that we have. They never do that. It's like an amazing thing. By the way, why don't you fan this room and show them how many people back there? Watch this. Watch. Fan the room. Look, they don't do it. They don't do it. See? Look, the cameras don't turn. Those cameras don't turn. Now, let me tell you, the only time they turned was when you had that one person screaming up there. It's amazing. No. They are so dishonest, it's incredible. No, it's so dishonest. So dishonest. I'm telling you, I tell the story all the time. My wife, she always says, were there many people there? Because it's always on my face. They never move. The only time they move is if there's a protester. They can take those things, turn them into a pretzel. I didn't think, it's true. Alan, I thought there was a mechanical reason why they never come off my face. It's like this, I'm talking, and you hear these big swooshes from an audience, so you know there's a lot of people, but it never comes off my face. And even just now, I said, fan the audience. Did you notice? They're dead straight. They don't move them. These guys are giving orders, I swear. I know the camera operators are on our side, but they're giving orders that they lose their job if they fan the audience. It's disgusting. But whenever it can be in the corner of a room. If somebody shouts something, those cameras turn so fast, unbelievable. So, you're very dishonest people, I'm telling you that. Really dishonest. Very dishonest. It's terrible. Anyway. So, getting back to the facts of life, Dodd-Frank, not quite as exciting, but that's okay. We have to end Dodd-Frank. What happens with Dodd-Frank is the regulators are running the banks. And they're running the banks, and the people that you think are powerful people, the head of the banks, they're petrified of the regulators. I've had people call me, can I help him get a loan at a bank? I'll call the banker who I know. Don, you know, his credit. I said, his credit's great. No, it's not good enough. I mean, unless you have 5 times what you want to borrow, they don't loan you any money. They're afraid to loan people money. And those are the people that should be able to borrow. And yeah, you may have bad loans, you may have problems, but you're never going to put the economy back to work if people can't get money from the banks. And they cannot borrow money from the banks. They can't borrow it. So, and I don't blame the heads of the banks, because the heads of the banks are powerless. I'm telling you, you have guys in there that are bureaucratic regulators that absolutely control those banks, and these chairmen of the banks report to them, and they literally are afraid to even talk to them. It's the most amazing thing. So that's not the way the banking system. And you go up and you go down, and you're going to have some bad loans and all of that stuff, and you want to be vigilant. Hey, I was there when loans were given. If you asked for $100 million, they'd say, you've been rejected, we'll give you $250. And I always said, I'll take it, right? Why not? Take it. And then you work it out later. It's fantastic. It was a great system, but you can't have that. You can't have that. Now what happens is you can't get money. People here that want to start businesses or that have really good businesses or that want to do something with estate tax, which I think should be repealed, because so many people, because of the estate taxes, are losing their family's money, their family's business. It's being taken away from them. So under my plan, that goes. And by the way, Alan, under my tax plan, we're cutting taxes way, way down for the middle class and for businesses. We're going to simplify everything. We're going to have a nice, simple plan. The only one that won't like it is H&R Block, because it's going to be so simple, you don't have to give them a lot of money to do it. But we have to get rid of a lot of the rules, regulate. We have to let bankers, legitimate people, go back to being bankers. You want to build a business, you have to be able to borrow money, and we're going to put you back in that position. We have to get rid of Dodd-Frank.
One of the things that I'm very proud of in South Carolina is we are the second least unionized state in the country. We're a proud people. We love our right to work status. And several years ago, unelected bureaucrats at the NLRB tried to prevent a small startup company, you might have heard of it, called Boeing, from expanding its operation to South Carolina. That did not succeed. It was able to go forward. The administration was quiet. They stood by silently when that happened. Would you have criticized that as president? What are your general views on the NLRB and the unions?
Well, I watched Boeing. I thought that was a disgrace what was going on, and they almost kept them out. I mean, you made a deal, and Boeing was coming in, and how they got involved in that, I thought that was disgraceful. I mean, one of the advantages you have is you have the lower wage, which means you might make more money if you're a worker, because you don't have to pay all the dues and all the other things that come with union representation. Now, I've worked with both, because Manhattan, when I build, it's 100% union. Everything's union, very heavily unionized. And, fortunately, that market's always been good for me, and it's been a good market, and it worked out, and I have no complaints. But the concept of being forced to use somebody is horrible. I thought what happened with Boeing was a disgrace, was an absolute disgrace. And that should never happen again. I mean, you almost lost Boeing. They would have gone someplace else. And that was purely a presidential political move, because he wanted to pander to the unions. You can't let that happen. You have a big advantage down here, and you can't let that advantage be lost. So that was not what this group was set up to do. And what they did was, frankly, it was a total disgrace. Something happened the other day. I don't know if you saw. The Teamsters routinely back Democrats, right? Routinely. But because of New York, and I've had thousands of Teamsters working for me, thousands. They're great people. They're unbelievable people. They love me. And they said they put a lot of pressure on Hoffa and the guys that run the Teamsters. Wait a minute. What are you doing, Hillary? Trump is going to create a hell of a lot more jobs than Hillary Clinton. Now, this is whether you're union or not union. And I don't know if they do it. They always go Democrat. I mean, they've almost always gone Democrat. But frankly, they're having an insurrection within the Teamsters, because people know that I'm going to fix our infrastructure. That's good for you, and it's good for the Teamsters. It's good for everybody. But who is going to fix it better than me? Hillary doesn't have the strength or the stamina to be president. I will tell you right now. She doesn't. And it's a rough thing, but she doesn't have it. We have to rebuild our infrastructure. We have to rebuild our military. We have to take care of our veterans. Our veterans. We have so many things to do, but one of the things we have to do is, just to get off the subject, we have to take care of our veterans. We have to take care of our wounded warriors. And Hillary came out 3 months ago, Alan. Hillary came out 3 months ago. She said the Veterans Administration's doing a good job. It's one of the most corrupt agencies in government. It's one of the most incompetently run agencies. They have plenty of money. They don't know how to administer. It's corrupt as hell. And our veterans, I've gotten to know so many veterans. Every veterans group that I've dealt with has endorsed me. But and we put in a plan that everybody loves. I won't go into it. But the veterans have been so mistreated. Illegal immigration and illegal immigrants are treated better than our veterans for the most part. It's true. We're going to change that. We're going to change it. So important. You know, they're our greatest people. We wouldn't be sitting here if it weren't for them. They're our greatest people, and we treat them so badly. Alan, 3 months ago, they came out with a report on a Wednesday. I remember Wednesday so much. They came out with a report that if you were a veteran, you had, as of 3 months ago, you had the longest wait in the history of the veterans. People are waiting for a doctor for, by the way, your boy's doing a good job. Doing a good job. Stand up, Al. Come on, stand up. No. Mom. I want Mom. Are you proud of? Who's the guy that just stood up? Huh? You don't know him. Huh?
You can stand up too.
You can stand up anyway. You've done a good job
mother.
with Alan. A great job. That's Mom. Great job. No, this other guy stood up and tried to say, who the hell is he? But we have to take care of our veterans. At the longest wait, they'd wait 4 and 5 days to see a doctor. And they would die. They would die. We lost thousands and thousands of wonderful veterans. If they could have seen a doctor, they could have been taken care of. And they would actually die waiting to see a doctor. It could be a simple procedure or a simple medication. We can't allow that to happen. We're going to take care of our veterans like you've never seen before.
Can I deviate for 1 second? As a veteran, I have 3 brothers who are veterans. I have a father who's a veteran, a lot of members of my family, and I see a lot of veteran hats out here. So if you are a veteran or you're related to a veteran or you're a first responder or in law enforcement, stand up and cheer.
Wow. Wow.
All right. Thank you.
Wow.
There.
That's a lot of veterans. Wow. That's a lot of veterans. Beautiful. That is beautiful. Well, we're going to take care of your families. We're going to take care of you. It has to be. Has to be. It has to be. We're going to do a good job.
All right. The next issue I want to touch on is the Second Amendment.
That might be the easiest one of all, if you want to know that. That might be the easiest one out.
South Carolina is a very pro-Second Amendment state, and I travel the state, and I talk to many law-abiding citizens who own firearms, and they are very concerned. This is what they're telling me, that of the knee-jerk reactions of those in Washington, D.C. who want to restrict their right to bear arms because of the horrible and terrible actions of a few, some of who are mentally ill or even terrorists. What are your views on the Second Amendment in light of this?
The Second Amendment will be totally protected if and when I become president. That I can tell you. Totally protected. Totally protected. Totally protected. You know, we have a horrible situation that took place a week ago in California. Now, they came in, they shot 14 people. Others are dying right now. You'll have more because they're very badly wounded. If I were, I have a right to carry. I'm a member of the NRA. My sons are members long time. They're much better. They're much better shots than I am, I will tell you. They're actually really good, but they're members. But if I were there, if you were there, if anybody here that had a weapon, if you were in that room, those people wouldn't have shot 14 people. We might have gone down fighting, but they're going down with us, okay? They're going down. And, no, think of it. These two animals walked into a room and started shooting. Now, take a look at Paris, okay? Paris. Paris is essentially gun-free. It's the hardest place, just about, I've read, just about in the world. One of the hardest places to have a gun. France, one of the hardest places to have a gun. Okay. Now what happens is these people walk in. And the biggest problem with the press, they call them by the wrong name. They said the mastermind. And then they hear about kids are being recruited to go into ISIS. They'll never recruit these guys up front. Stand up, kids. They're never recruiting these guys. These are hardliners. They're not being recruited. Okay. But think of it. They're young, impressionable, and they're watching television, and they're hearing about the mastermind. I call him the guy with the dirty hat. He was a disgusting guy. They call him the mastermind, and the kids are hearing about the mastermind. He's probably a guy with a very low IQ. He's probably dumb as a rock. What did he do? He got people to walk into a room, and a number of rooms in the case of Paris, and start shooting everybody. And the press goes, the mastermind, we're under surveillance, we think we have... You don't call him mastermind anymore, fellas, because he's not a mastermind. And they glorify him. You know, they make him like Robin Hood. The press glorifies these people, and they got to stop. And I've been saying this for a week, and I haven't heard the word mastermind for a while. It's really amazing, because they understand. Look, if somebody were in that room in Paris, you had 130 some odd people killed, many people dying right now, seriously large numbers wounded that are going to be dying. If you had a few people with guns in that room, roped on, taped onto their ankle, put on their belt buckle, put up here, put anywhere, so a little firepower would be going in the other direction, you wouldn't have had 100 and some odd people killed. You wouldn't have had it. You wouldn't have had it. And it's so simple. And by the way, if the so-called mastermind, the moron, the guy, if he knew that people were in there with guns, they wouldn't have been there. They wouldn't have been there. Well, Alan, one of the things I would do very early on, you know, in this country, we have these crazy rules. We had 5 soldiers killed very recently on a military base. One of them was an extraordinary, highly decorated marksman. All of them were very good. One was like extraordinary. He was like, you know, champion and top of the line. He wasn't allowed to have a gun. And it was a gun-free zone on a base. And this whack job walks into the base and kills 5 of them. Just boom, 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 boom. And they're sitting there helpless. And these are great soldiers. These are elite. And they were helpless. One of the earliest things I do is on military bases, immediately, there's no more gun-free zones. There's no more gun-free zones. No more. And just to finish off on Second Amendment, there's plenty of rules and regulations already for guns, believe me. But, you know, they have a rule now in New York, they want to have very few. You have a magazine and it holds a lot of bullets. They want to have no more than 7. So the good guys, and then now they want to bring it down to 3. So the good guys are going to say, they're going to say, okay, we'll have 3. Do you think the bad guys are going to say, well, you know, the law says, I'm going to kill people now, but the law says that I can only have 3. I think I'll put in how about I'll put in as many as I can possibly have. It is just so stupid. But I argue with people, and they're smart people, and they're friends of mine, and they're into the whole, you know, gun control movement. And I just give an example, Paris. I say, wouldn't it be better if you had 5 or 6 of those people that happen to have guns and they can't answer me? They just can't. I used the other day a real guy who's always fighting for, you know, gun control and take everybody's guns away, because they'll take your guns away, but the bad guys are always going to have the guns. You're not going to have any guns. So I had a debate with him in front of a group of people that was sort of like didn't care about the issue that much, okay? Frankly, there are people that don't, you know, but most people do. I care about it a lot. But let me just tell you, I had a debate in front of this group of people, and I just creamed it. There's no way they can win that debate. Because if in California there was even 1 gun, 2 guns, 3 guns, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. So, and they can't justify it. And yet at the end of that debate, he got clobbered, didn't change his mind. So these are people, they want to take your guns away, folks. They want to take your guns away. They want to take your ammunition away. That's the new one. They're finding out, you know, Alan, they're finding out they can't take the gun. Let's take the ammunition. Because, you know, there's so many different things. It's very hard playing around too much with the Second Amendment. But all of a sudden, somebody comes up. I don't know if you've heard the idea of the bullets. We're not taking the gun. We're going to make it impossible to get bullets. I'm president. Believe me, folks. Second Amendment stays.
Hey, guys, I want to talk to y'all just offline for a minute. So Mr. Trump's not going to listen. We're at the end of the hour. Y'all have a problem if we go a couple minutes over? All right? Just a couple minutes? You got a couple extra minutes?
Sure.
All right. We'll do about another 5 minutes. I want to talk about Gitmo. I just joined 2 other states' attorneys general to ask President Obama in a letter not to close Gitmo and not to send terrorists to American soil. Position.
That's an easy. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody be in.
Look at the cameras all turned over there. Look at the cameras. They're all turned over there. Look at the cameras now. Look at those cameras. They're all turned.
Okay, we're going to the last question, ladies and gentlemen.
We keep Gitmo. We keep Gitmo.
One last question. Mr. Trump, as Commander-in-Chief, how would you provide for the common defense, ensure domestic tranquility, and safeguard our nation against growing threats of terrorism in a constitutional fashion?
We have to be tough. I heard somebody back there, but I'm not saying it. We have to be tough. We have to be vigilant. You know, the police are incredible people. Without the police, they are not given the credit. They are not given the credit. They are not given credit like they should be. And the other day, Alan, I got the endorsement from the New England, all of New England, the police unions up there, and all of the police, and it was an amazing thing. These are incredible people. They take such abuse. If they open their mouth nowadays, if they talk a little bit loud, they take away their living, they take away their pensions. And you can always have a problem. You can always have a bad one. You can always have a bad apple. No matter what business we're in, you're always going to have a bad apple. But I'll tell you what, the police in this country are so underappreciated. And we're to give them a hand. Got to give them a hand. But we have to practice vigilance, and when you see something, you have to do something about it. You have to do something. You know, up in California, the person said racial profiling. They didn't want to turn him in. I don't believe that. I think that person maybe was involved. Who knows? Probably some lawyer say that. But this isn't about being politically correct or racial profile. When you see something wrong, you have to call your local police. They will do an unbelievable job. An unbelievable job.
Ladies and gentlemen, why don't we give Mr. Trump a round of applause and thank him for his time. Let's show him how South Carolina does it.
We will make America great again.